My son-in-law branded me a thief in front of my grandkids, yelling, "You stole the family heirlooms. Get out of this house." My daughter looked away in silence, but when I pulled out the hidden camera footage, their faces drained of all color. Intro music fades slightly, a warm, reassuring voice begins, then sharpens with a hint of steel. I was 65 years old, a widow, living a quiet life, until the day I walked into an electronics store to buy a hidden camera. Not for a cat, not for a prank, but to catch my own son-in-law stealing from me. That's how deep the betrayal cut, and it marked the beginning of a fight for my family I never saw coming. There I was, an elderly woman from Chesapeake, nodding along as a salesman who looked barely older than my grandson, Liam, rattled off technical jargon. "Mrs. Adlington, this model has a motion sensor. The battery lasts a week of continuous recording." He smiled, holding up a tiny button-sized device. "You said you want to keep an eye on your cat when you're away." My cat. The lie tasted bitter on my tongue, but it came surprisingly easily. Much easier than admitting the truth. I suspected my daughter Evelyn's husband, Dexter, of theft. "Yes, my Oscar is far too curious," I managed, forcing a smile. "He gets into everything when I'm not home." The irony was sharp. I didn't even have a cat. All I had was an empty house, too quiet since George died 3 years ago, and a gnawing, dreadful feeling that something was terribly wrong in my daughter's life. My house on Oak Street, bought by George and me 50 years ago, was steeped in memories. We painted those walls, planted young trees that now towered over the yard, brought our newborn Evelyn home. It was worn by time, just like me. Evelyn, my lively, once optimistic daughter, lived on the other side of town with Dexter, a man I could barely stand, and my 2 precious grandchildren. I saw them less often than I wished. It all started subtly. A cool April morning, I paid for the camera, tucked the box into my bag, and stepped out onto the street. The wind from the bay cut through me, chilling me to the bone, making my knee ache from a fall last winter. As I walked, I couldn't help but wonder, how did my life come to this? Spying on my own family? It began with $200. I remember clearly putting it in my wallet for Christmas gifts for Liam and Penny. But when it was time to give them, the wallet was empty. I searched everywhere. "You probably left it at home, Mom," Evelyn had said, avoiding my eyes. "You've been forgetting things a lot lately." That wasn't true. My memory might falter sometimes, but I'd spent 32 years working at a bank. I was meticulous with money. Dexter had stepped in, pulling out his own wallet with an ostentatious flourish. "I'll give the kids their presents, Martha. Don't worry." His voice always carried that condescending edge, treating me like a senile child. Liam, then 10 and 8-year-old Penny, sensing the tension, looked at us with wide, uncertain eyes, disappointed by the meager $20 they each received from Dexter. That evening, lying in the guest room, I couldn't shake the chilling thought, what if Dexter took my money? It felt absurd. Evelyn said he earned good money. Why steal from his elderly mother-in-law? But the seed of doubt was planted, and once sown, it grew. I began to notice things. Evelyn, once so vibrant, now spoke softly, frequently glancing at Dexter, as if seeking permission to speak. My phone calls went unanswered more and more often. Invitations to visit became rare, always coinciding with Dexter's flights, leaving him conveniently absent. Then, during a visit in March, I found my bag rummaged through, my wallet open. This time, no money was missing, but the violation felt just as profound. "Coffee, Mom?" Evelyn's voice made me jump as she entered the living room without knocking. She looked utterly exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. "Thank you, dear. Is everything all right?" "Of course," she'd replied, too quickly. "Just didn't get much sleep." Penny was coughing all night. I knew it was a lie. My room was next to Penny's, and I'd heard nothing. But I couldn't bring myself to challenge her. After that, Dexter started watching me. I caught his intense gaze when he thought I wasn't looking. He asked probing questions about my house, about anything valuable I kept there, about George's insurance policy. One day, Penny, sitting on my lap, asked, "Grandma, do you have that old jewelry?" "Dad said you have some beautiful jewelry that belonged to my great-grandmother." I froze. My grandmother's jewelry, priceless to me, yet I'd never mentioned it to Dexter. "Dad said that?" I asked cautiously. Yes. He told Mom you were probably hiding it and didn't want to share. Evelyn, overhearing, turned pale and snapped at Penny. The look she gave me, a raw mixture of fear and shame, convinced me something was terribly, dangerously wrong. All the way home, on the bus, then in my empty house, cooking dinner for one, I thought about it. George would have known what to do. But George was gone. It was up to me. That evening, wrapped in a blanket in my armchair, I made a decision. The next time I visited, and if anything went missing, I would find out who was responsible. And now, this tiny camera was in my bag. I felt ridiculous, like a spy from George's old movies. Embarrassing, but absolutely necessary. At home, the instructions were a blur of technical terms and tiny letters, even with my glasses. But I grasped the basics: motion activated, records to a memory card, viewable on a computer. A computer. My old laptop, used mostly for photos. Would it even work? You'll figure it out, Martha, I said aloud, startled by my own voice. You're not that old. For 2 days, I practiced. Setting it up, checking angles, downloading. Frustration nearly made me throw it all away, but stubbornness, a trait George always admired, won out. By Friday, I was, if not an expert, then at least confident. Just in time, Evelyn called with an invitation for Sunday lunch. Dexter will be home, she said quietly. He wants to talk to you about something important. Her voice was strange, but she quickly changed the subject when I asked if she was okay. By the way, if you're still with me, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the unbelievable twists and turns still to come in the story, and many others. Sunday morning, I packed a small bag. Evelyn insisted I stay the night. I tucked the camera, carefully hidden, into my makeup bag. Her house was typical suburban, a neat lawn, bikes on the driveway, faceless, unlike my own home where every crack in the wall held a story. Evelyn opened the door, her hug tight, almost desperate. Mom, I'm so glad you're here. I could smell her shampoo, the same one she used as a teenager. Is something wrong, dear? I asked softly. No, of course not, she replied too quickly. Liam and Penny, happy and noisy, ran out. My heart swelled. For these children, I could endure anything. Kids, go to your rooms. Dexter's low voice cut through the joy. He stood leaning against the door frame, outwardly attractive, but his eyes, when they met mine, were cold. Hello, Dexter, I said, years of dealing with unpleasant bank clients, keeping my voice steady. Martha, he nodded, unmoving. I hope the trip was okay. Fine, thank you. Evelyn quickly snatched my bag. I'll take your things to the guest room, Mom. You and Dexter talk. My heart hammered. The camera. But refusing would be suspicious. Of course, dear. Thank you. She left, and I was alone with him, dread coiling in my stomach. If he found it. Come into the living room, Dexter said, his voice flat. We really need to talk. I followed, bracing myself. When I finally made it to the guest room late that night, I was relieved to find the camera still safely tucked away. With trembling hands, I set it up between the books on the shelf, the perfect angle to see the whole room, especially where I usually left my bag. Tomorrow, I would know the truth. The morning began with the smell of pancakes and children's laughter. It was Liam's 11th birthday. I remembered holding him in my arms, small and red, George surreptitiously wiping tears from his own eyes. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, a gift for the birthday boy. My joints ached, a constant reminder of the years. I reached for my glasses, my gaze flicking to the inconspicuous camera. It was still there. Grandma, are you awake? Penny burst in, dressed in her frilly party dress. Mom said you should come have breakfast. Good morning, sunshine, I smiled, watching her bounce with excitement. Tell Mom I'll be there in 10 minutes. I stood by the window, the peaceful suburban street belying the unease I felt. Dexter's important talk yesterday had been strange. He'd boasted about a promotion, a new car, as if trying to convince himself, or me, of his financial stability. Everything's great, Martha, he'd repeated, but anxiety, fear, flickered in his eyes. After dressing, I slipped the memory card into a secret pocket in my purse. Better safe than sorry. The kitchen was a whirl of activity, Evelyn at the stove, Liam setting the table, Penny hanging garlands. Happy birthday, dear, I hugged Liam, feeling him stiffen, already shy of affection. Thanks, Grandma, he muttered. Evelyn turned to me with coffee, and my breath hitched. A bruise, dark and ugly, under her eye, barely concealed by makeup. My heart ached. I knew that look. Asterisk, don't look. Don't ask. Everything's fine. Asterisk, a look learned through years of marriage to Dexter. I'd love some, dear. Can I help? No, you're a guest, she replied too quickly. Just sit with the kids. We ate without Dexter. He was getting the cake, Evelyn said. His absence brought a fragile peace. The children chattered. Evelyn even managed a few genuine smiles. Grandma, did you bring me a present? Liam asked. Liam. Evelyn scolded. It's okay, I ruffled his hair. Of course, but let's wait until tonight. My secret gift, a radio-controlled airplane kit, was hidden in my bag, bought with carefully saved pension money. After breakfast, the children ran off. Evelyn and I were alone. Eve, I said softly, using her childhood nickname. What's going on? And don't tell me everything's fine. Her hands froze in the soapy water. For a moment, I thought she'd crumble, but she just sighed. It's just stress, Mom. Work, kids, the house. And the bruise under your eye? She flinched. I bumped into the closet door. My own clumsiness. The lie was so transparent, it hurt. My daughter, who'd never been able to lie as a child, now uttered it with frightening ease. Evelyn, if you need help, the front door slammed, cutting me off. Heavy footsteps, and Dexter appeared, holding a large bakery box. The cake's here, he announced with forced cheerfulness. Hi, Martha. Had breakfast? Yes, thank you. I watched Evelyn instantly transform, straightening her back, forcing a smile, fussing with the coffee pot. Coffee, he said curtly, placing the box down. Black. I need to check the barbecue. The Bensons are coming at 5. I thought the party was at 4, Evelyn said uncertainly. I moved it. I have things to do, Dexter snapped. And tell the kids to keep it down. My head is splitting. He stalked out to the backyard without a glance at either of us. Evelyn's shoulders slumped, as if all the air had left her. He's just tired, she muttered, though I hadn't asked. I said nothing. What could I say? That I saw her fear? That George would be turning in his grave? Instead, I just placed my hand on her shoulder. I'll go see what the kids are doing. The day dragged. The children tried to be quiet. Evelyn prepared dinner. Dexter was either in the garage, the yard, or closeted in his study, speaking in hushed tones on the phone. At 3 p.m., I excused myself, pretending to rest, but really, I needed to check the camera. It was still there, but the angle had shifted slightly. Had someone moved the books? I quickly adjusted it. By 5 p.m., guests arrived. The backyard filled with laughter and chatter, a spectacle of happy family life. No one seemed to notice Evelyn's forced smiles, Dexter's sharp movements, or the children's frightened glances when their father raised his voice. Nice party, isn't it? Miss Coleman, Dexter's elderly, sharp-eyed relative, sat beside me. Liam's grown so much. Yes, they're both growing too fast, I agreed. How are you, Martha? Is it hard being alone after George? She was direct, but not unkind. I'm getting used to it, one day at a time. I understand, she nodded. My Harold passed 15 years ago. Sometimes I still talk to him, can you imagine? I can imagine, I smiled. George is now my chief advisor. Miss Coleman chuckled, then nodded towards Dexter, who was laughing loudly. And what does George think of your son-in-law? I froze. Why do you ask? She shrugged. Just curious. Dexter's a complicated man. Known him since he was a child. His father was the same, charming at first, then controlling. Before I could process her words, Dexter approached. What are you whispering about, ladies? I hope you're not gossiping about me. What are you talking about, Dexter? Miss Coleman replied calmly. We were discussing the weather. Perfect for a barbecue. He smiled, but his eyes were ice. Martha, could you help Evelyn in the kitchen? I think she needs help with the cake. It wasn't a request, it was an order. I slowly rose, my knee aching. Of course. In the kitchen, Evelyn was indeed busy. Mom, thanks for coming, she exhaled. I can't find the matches. In the top cabinet, dear, Dexter's voice came from the doorway. With my cigarettes, which you threw away last week. Evelyn flinched. I thought you quit. And I thought we didn't throw away each other's things, he retorted, stepping closer. But I'm not angry, sweetheart. It's a holiday. He put his arms around her shoulders too tightly. I turned away, pretending to search for plates. By the way, Martha, Dexter said, I found an old box in the attic. I think it's yours. With jewelry in it. My box. The carved wooden one my father brought back from Europe, containing my grandmother's silver bracelet, my mother's pearl brooch, and George's gold anniversary earrings. The box I'd left with Evelyn for safekeeping when I renovated my house years ago. Yes, I think it's mine, I replied cautiously. Can I take a look? Of course, he smiled. After the cake. It's in my study. Something in his tone made my blood run cold. It was a test. Liam blew out his candles. Dexter gave a touching speech. Outwardly, everything was perfect. But I saw Evelyn's tense shoulders, Liam's forced smile, his fear of his father's rare approval. When guests left and presents were opened, my airplane made Liam's eyes light up. I felt a flicker of hope. As Evelyn started cleaning, Dexter appeared. Come on, Martha. I'll show you that box. I followed him into his study. My carved wooden box sat on his desk. I found this the other day, he said, pushing it toward me. I thought you might want it. I took it, immediately noticing the broken lock. The silver tongue, usually clicking shut, hung by a single screw. The lock was broken when I found it, Dexter said quickly, watching me. Probably a long time ago. A lie. I remembered it perfectly intact. And it wasn't just any lock. My father had installed a clever, secret mechanism. My heart pounded. I opened the lid. The jewelry was there, but something was wrong. I went through them. The bracelet, brooch, earrings, ring. Wait. Where was George's wedding ring? I'd kept it there on a thin gold chain after he died. Is something wrong? Dexter asked, his gaze piercing. Should I accuse him now? Not with Evelyn and the children so close. No, everything's fine, I lied, my voice steady. I just haven't seen these things in a long time. Thanks for finding them. He nodded, but his eyes held a strange mix of disappointment and relief. You can take it with you, he said casually. It's yours. Yes, of course, I said, clutching the box to my chest. Leaving the study, I leaned against the hallway wall, trying to calm my breathing. George's ring was gone. Not the most expensive, but priceless to me. In the guest room, I examined the box. The lock wasn't just broken, it had been pried open, clear marks from a screwdriver. And the inside was wiped clean, but not the outside. Someone had been thorough. I sat on the bed, questions swirling. Why George's ring? Why that and not something more valuable? Why return the box now? A soft knock. Come in. It was Evelyn, a cup of tea in her hands. I thought you might want some tea. How was your holiday? Wonderful. Liam was happy. She nodded, her gaze distant. Mom, she began, then fell silent. What is it, dear? Nothing, she shook her head. Just, thank you for coming. It means a lot to the children. She leaned in, hugging me, and whispered so softly I barely heard, be careful with Dexter. He's been out of sorts lately. Before I could respond, she straightened and left. Good night, Mom. Good night, sweetie. When the door closed, I took the box from under my pillow. The jewelry glimmered faintly in the dim lamplight, reminders of the past, of George. But the broken lock spoke loudest. Something was deeply, profoundly wrong in this house, and I had to find out what before it was too late. The morning was cloudy, distant thunder rumbling. A storm was coming. At 7 a.m., voices grew louder outside my door. Dexter's irritated tone, Evelyn's soothing whispers. They were arguing. Then a slam silence. I dressed quickly, a house dress, comfortable shoes. At 65, you don't try to impress anyone. My reflection showed a widow whom her son-in-law considered a burden. I picked up the box, went to the kitchen. Coffee aroma, pancakes. Evelyn at the stove. Liam and Penny already eating. Dexter was nowhere. Good morning, I said, putting the box on the table. Good morning, Mom, Evelyn replied, her voice tense. Coffee? I'd love some. Penny snuggled next to me. Grandma, are you leaving today? Yes, sweetie. But not for a while. We'll have time to play. Liam ate silently, avoiding my gaze. Something was wrong with him too. What's wrong, Liam? I asked, reaching for his hand. He flinched, pulling away. Everything's fine. Evelyn placed pancakes before me, her hands shaking. Kids, she said, unnaturally cheerful, when you're done, go to your rooms. Your dad needs to talk to your grandmother. My stomach clenched. Talk about what? The box? The missing ring? I'm almost done, Liam said, gulping his juice. Let's go, Penny. But I'm not finished, she protested. Let's go, Liam insisted, pulling her hand. I'll let you play with my new toy. Penny, forgetting her pancake, followed. See you soon, Grandma, she waved at the door. When they were gone, I turned to Evelyn. What's going on? She sat opposite me, avoiding my eyes. Dexter, she began, then stopped as heavy footsteps approached. He entered the kitchen, tall, broad-shouldered, a stony expression on his face, a handkerchief-wrapped bundle in his hand. Good morning, Martha, he said, a fake smile twisting his lips. Did you sleep well? Fine, thank you, I managed, my heart hammering. You wanted to talk to me? Yes. He sat at the head of the table, placing the bundle before him. About your jewelry box. I nodded. Evelyn was pale as a ghost. When was the last time you opened it? He asked. Last night. When you gave it to me. I hesitated. And everything was there? Not quite, I decided to be honest. George's wedding ring is missing. I kept it on a chain. Dexter nodded, as if expecting this. You know, Martha, I've been noticing some strange things lately. He drew out his words slowly. Things going missing. First small things. Money from my wallet. Then Evelyn's watch. Then her mother's earrings. Dexter, Evelyn interrupted quietly. Maybe you shouldn't. Shut up, he snapped. She cringed. I'm going to take care of this once and for all. He turned to me, cold fury in his eyes. And yesterday I decided to check your jewelry box, Martha. And do you know what I found there? He unfolded the handkerchief. A gold ring with a small diamond flashed on the table. My mother's engagement ring, which disappeared a month ago. I stared at it, a ring I'd never seen. It's not mine, I said firmly. I never took your things, Dexter. Don't lie to me. He slammed his fist on the table, cups jumping. It was in your jewelry box. You took it when you stayed with us last month. That's not true, I said, trembling, but standing my ground. I'm not a thief, Dexter. And you know that. I know, he smiled bitterly. All I know is that ever since George died, you've been complaining about money. I know you're jealous of our house, of our life. I know you don't approve of me as your daughter's husband, and this is your way of getting back at us, by stealing our things. Evelyn sobbed quietly, her face in her hands. I looked at her, pleading for her to speak, to defend me. But she remained silent. Evelyn, I said, my voice cracking, you don't believe this, do you? She looked up, eyes filled with tears, but before she could speak, a rustling sound came from the doorway. Liam and Penny stood there frightened. Dad, Liam said uncertainly. What's going on? Dexter turned to the children, his face instantly changing. Anger melted into feigned sadness. Kids, I'm very sorry, but I have something to tell you. Remember Grandma Price's ring that went missing? I found it, at your Grandma Martha's house. Penny looked at me in confusion. Grandma took someone else's ring? No, I exclaimed. Never, Dexter. Don't get the kids involved in this. But he ignored me. Yes, Penny. Grandma Martha took things that didn't belong to her, he said gently, as if explaining a difficult concept. Sometimes adults do bad things when they don't have enough money. That's a lie. I jumped up, blood rushing to my face. I've never taken anything that didn't belong to me. Dexter, stop this right now. See, he said to the children, still ignoring me. That's why I didn't want her to come so often. I knew something was wrong. Liam looked at me with horror and disbelief. Penny began to cry. But Grandma can't be a thief, she whispered. She's nice. Sometimes people aren't who they seem, sweetie. Dexter patted her head. I'm so sorry. I felt the ground slip away beneath my feet. My own son-in-law, accusing me of theft in front of my grandchildren, and my daughter standing by silently, letting it happen. Evelyn, I turned to her, my voice shaking. Tell them the truth. You've known me all my life. You know I would never. Mom, she finally said, her voice barely audible. Just admit it, please. It'll be easier for everyone. I froze. My own daughter. Betraying me. Agreeing with false accusations. Stripping me of the last thing I had left, my grandchildren's respect. I will not confess to something I did not do, I said, tears burning in my throat. Never. Dexter shook his head, feigning regret. Then I'm very sorry, Martha, but I have to ask you to leave right now. I can't allow you to stay in my house around my children. But Dad, Liam began, Grandma's bus is at 2. It doesn't matter, Dexter cut him off. She'll find somewhere to go, won't you, Martha? I looked at them all. At Dexter, triumphant. At Evelyn, broken. At my frightened grandchildren. Something inside me died. Faith in family. Hope for justice. A pain I hadn't felt even after George's death. I'm leaving, I said, standing. But know this, I never took what wasn't mine. Never. I headed for the door, then stopped, turning back to the box on the table. This is mine, I said, taking it, pressing it tightly to my chest. And I'll prove my innocence. Dexter smiled. Sure, Martha. Good luck with that. I walked past the children, trying not to look into their tear-filled, confused eyes. Up to the guest room, I quickly gathered my things. The camera was still on the bookshelf, inconspicuous. Hopefully, it had captured everything. Coming downstairs with my bag, I saw Evelyn in the hallway alone. Dexter had taken the children to the living room. Mom, she whispered, I don't believe you're a thief. But Dexter, he's so convincing. And they really did find the ring in your jewelry box. Which someone broke into, I said, looking her straight in the eye. You know the lock was broken. You know I would never take something that didn't belong to me. I know, she lowered her gaze. But I can't do anything. He controls you, I finished for her. And you let him. You let him destroy our family, humiliate me in front of my grandchildren. How can you, Evelyn? Tears streamed down her cheeks. You don't understand, Mom. You don't know what it's like. I do, I said, suddenly so tired my anger receded. I know more than you think. And I'll help you, even if you didn't help me. I opened the front door. It had started raining, a cold, light rain that seemed to penetrate to my very soul. Perfect weather for the hardest day of my life. Goodbye, Evelyn. Mom, wait. She grabbed my arm. Where are you going? It's raining and the bus won't be here for hours. I'll find somewhere to go, I repeated Dexter's words with bitter irony. Don't worry about me. Worry about your children, who are growing up watching their father mistreat their mother and humiliate their grandmother. I stepped out into the rain without looking back. My bag weighed heavily. The box, hidden inside, felt impossibly heavy. But heaviest of all was my heart, broken by the betrayal of those closest to me. The streets of Chesapeake were almost empty. I walked aimlessly, just trying to get as far from her house as possible. 2 blocks away, I found a small cafe, open despite the early hour. Terrible weather, isn't it? The elderly waitress said cheerfully. I chose a table by the window, watching the rain turn the street into a blurry, gray canvas. Like my life. Yesterday, it was bright, full of meaning. Today, colorless and shapeless. Coffee? Yes, please. Can I use your phone? Of course, dear. Is everything all right? Just a little family problem, I forced a smile. Nothing serious. I pulled out a worn notebook with important numbers. Vernon Carlson, my neighbor, a former police officer who sometimes gave me rides. Maybe he could meet me. It was better than sitting here, wet and humiliated, until 2 p.m. I dialed. Carlson speaking. Vernon, it's Martha Adlington. Your neighbor from Oak Street. His voice sounded surprised. What happened? Are you all right? Not really, I sighed. I'm in Chesapeake, at Jenny's Cafe on Maple and 5th. I need to get home. I'll be there in 40 minutes, he said firmly. Don't go anywhere. Tears of gratitude welled up. Back at my table, I wrapped my hands around the hot coffee, trying to warm myself. My wet clothes clung to me. I must have looked like a crazy old woman. What would George say? He'd scold Dexter, then Evelyn, then hug me and say, Martha, old girl, don't let them get you down. You're stronger than you think. I paid, feeling the memory card in my pocket. My only hope. Vernon Carlson arrived exactly 40 minutes later. Tall, stooped, with a thick gray mustache and piercing blue eyes, the quintessential retired cop. Martha, you're soaked to the skin. I wasn't in the rain long, I replied. Thank you for coming. Don't mention it. I was going into town anyway. Are you ready? In his warm car, I finally allowed myself to relax a little. So, Vernon said, keeping his eyes on the road. What happened with your daughter? I took a deep breath. I've been accused of theft. Dexter, my son-in-law, said I stole his mother's jewelry. He made a scene in front of the children. Said he found his mother's ring in my jewelry box, but I've never seen that ring before. And Evelyn, she didn't say a word. Just stood there. I see, Vernon nodded. Unpleasant. What are you going to do? I clutched my bag tighter. I have proof. At least I hope so. Vernon raised an eyebrow. Proof. I installed a camera in the guest room, I admitted, a strange relief washing over me. A small, inconspicuous one. It records to a memory card. I suspected something was wrong when money went missing from my wallet last time. Vernon smiled slightly. Not bad for a beginner detective. What's on the recording? I don't know. I haven't looked yet. I need a computer. I have a laptop at home. You can use it. We drove the rest of the way in silence, the Chesapeake suburbs giving way to rural landscapes. How quickly things built over years, trust, respect, could be destroyed. My neighborhood greeted us with lighter rain. Vernon pulled up to his house, across the street from mine. Come on, he said. Have some hot tea, dry your clothes, and then we'll watch your recording. Inside, Vernon's house was simple, functional, a little old-fashioned. Bathroom's over there. I'll put the kettle on. 15 minutes later, dry and warmer, I sat at his kitchen table, a hot tea in my hands. Vernon sat opposite, his open laptop between us. Now, let's see what you've got. My hands shook as I handed him the memory card. What if it hadn't worked? What if he deleted it? Vernon inserted the card. Several files here, dated. Which one? Yesterday's, I think. I set up the camera Saturday evening. He opened it. The screen showed Evelyn's guest room. The quality wasn't perfect, but clear. No sound. I'd forgotten that feature. We'll have to fast forward, Vernon said. Empty frames flashed. Stop, Vernon said suddenly. Someone's coming in. Dexter entered the room. He looked around, listened, then quickly went to my bag, rummaging, looking annoyed. He stopped, as if he heard something, and quickly left. That was yesterday afternoon, I said, when I was with the kids. Vernon sped it up. Dexter reappeared, but it was night now, only a nightlight on. He looked around again, then went to my jewelry box. He picked it up, examined the lock, then took something from his pocket, a screwdriver or a knife, and started picking at the lock. Everything in me went cold. This was it. The proof. He finally opened the box, rummaged through, then took a small object from his pocket, a ring, and placed it among my jewelry. He closed the box, put it back, and left. Oh my God, I whispered. He put the ring in my jewelry box. Looks like it, Vernon nodded. Let's watch some more. The next moment was early morning. Dexter entered, this time with Evelyn. They stood at the door, arguing. Evelyn shook her head, tried to leave, but Dexter grabbed her arm, said something close to her face. She cringed, nodded, and they both left. Too bad there's no sound, Vernon said. But it's clear enough. He's intimidating your daughter. I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. Poor Evelyn. Wait. Vernon paused it again. He's back. Dexter entered, a phone in his hand. He sat on my bed, talking, glancing at the door. He paced, gesturing wildly. An unpleasant conversation. His face contorted with anger, slamming his fist into his palm. It's a shame we don't know who he's talking to. Looks like a creditor, Vernon agreed, pointing to Dexter's money-counting gestures. Usually means debt. I remembered Dexter's nervousness, his boasting about finances. Do you think he has money problems? Quite possibly, Vernon shrugged. Serious ones. Dexter finished the call, sat with his head in his hands, then left. The next significant moment, Evelyn entered, a cup of tea. She looked around, then went to my bag. She hesitated, struggling, then quickly opened it and put something inside. A note. Then left. What did she put in my bag? I strained to see the blurry image. Can't see, Vernon shook his head. Something small. Check your bag. I fumbled, finding nothing unusual. Then, from the Agatha Christie novel I'd brought, a folded piece of paper fell out. Here. I unfolded it. Evelyn's handwriting, small, uneven, rushed. Mom, I'm sorry. D is in big debt because of gambling. He's threatening to take the kids if I don't help him. I'm scared for them. Please be careful. Don't trust him. So that's what it is, Vernon said quietly, reading over my shoulder. Gambling. Poor Evelyn, I whispered, pressing the note to my chest. She's afraid of him. Afraid for the children. The last fragment showed Dexter entering again, clearly to search. He checked drawers, under the bed, even rummaged through the books where the camera was. I held my breath. He almost found it, but, in a hurry, missed the tiny device. He left, slamming the door. The recording ended. I leaned back stunned. Now it's clear, Vernon said, closing the file. Your son-in-law is in debt from gambling. He needs money, decided to get rid of you by accusing you of theft. Maybe counting on insurance money or just diverting suspicion. But why involve the children? I still couldn't grasp his cruelty. To convince everyone of your guilt. Children are sincere. If they didn't believe you, they might have defended you. Dexter needed to turn them against you. I remembered their frightened, confused faces, Penny's tears. He'd taken away not just their grandmother, but their belief in honesty. What am I supposed to do now, Vernon? I felt utterly lost. I have the recording. But who would believe an old woman accusing her son-in-law of forgery? Vernon stroked his mustache. The police are unlikely to get involved in a family dispute without clear evidence of violence. But the recording is a good start. We need more about Dexter's debts. Who does he owe? How much? How serious? I don't know, I shook my head. Evelyn never mentioned difficulties. Dexter always boasted. Typical of gamblers, Vernon snorted, maintaining appearances until the very end. And your daughter's note confirms he's threatening her and the children. That's serious. I'm afraid for them. What did she mean? Physical violence? Threatening parental rights? Either way, my daughter and grandchildren were in danger, and I was here, helpless. We have to go back, I said firmly. Show Evelyn the note. Convince her to leave Dexter, take the children. Vernon shook his head. Not so fast, Martha. If Dexter owes dangerous people, a direct confrontation could be dangerous. We need a plan. What plan? Every hour my grandchildren spend with that man could be dangerous. I understand your concern, Vernon said gently. But let's think rationally. If we just barge in with accusations, Dexter will deny everything. Say the recording is fake, that you made it up out of revenge. And Evelyn, I'm afraid she might not support you publicly if she's afraid for the children. He was right. Evelyn's fear was stronger than her love for me. What do you suggest? I asked. Vernon paced. First, copy this recording. Just in case. Second, find out more about Dexter's finances. I have a friend in the police who can discreetly check for connections to underground gambling. In the meantime, Evelyn and the children are staying with him, I remarked bitterly. Yes, but we'll move quickly. And one more thing, contact Evelyn. Let her know you have evidence of his innocence, that you're willing to help. How? Dexter controls all her communications. There are ways, Vernon said thoughtfully. Through her work. Chesapeake Hospital, pediatric ward, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I nodded. She'll be there tomorrow. We can meet her during her lunch break, somewhere public where Dexter can't interfere. A plan. Hope. Thank you, Vernon, I said sincerely. I don't know what I'd do without you. It's nothing. Neighbors should help each other. Besides, he added with a slight smile, I worked in the police for 30 years. Sometimes I miss investigating. I smiled back, the first real smile all day. Then let's make a plan. What do we need to do before tomorrow? We worked for hours, Vernon methodical, I listening and questioning. By evening, we had a clear course of action. Meet Evelyn. Depending on her reaction, either help them escape or gather more evidence and go to the police. Be prepared for Evelyn to refuse help, Vernon warned. Victims often defend their abusers, especially with children involved. I know, I sighed. But I have proof. She has to believe me. Let's hope so. Now you need to rest. It's been a tough day. I was exhausted. But thoughts of my grandchildren wouldn't leave me. I'll walk you home, Vernon said. The rain has almost stopped. We crossed the street. My house was quiet, dark, waiting. I took out my keys, then turned to Vernon. Thank you for everything. He looked embarrassed. Don't thank me, Martha. Just rest. Tomorrow is important. I nodded, a lump in my throat. It was strange how a stranger had shown more care than my own family. Or perhaps Vernon wasn't such a stranger anymore. Inside, the familiar smells of old wood, books, lavender. Safe. Yet, for the first time in years, the house felt too empty, too quiet. I sat in George's armchair. What would you do, George? I whispered into the emptiness. No answer, just the clock and the last drops of rain. But I felt sure George would approve. He always favored decisive action when it came to family. I opened the jewelry box. My grandmother's bracelet, mother's brooch, George's earrings. And the ring Dexter had planted, a silent, gaudy interloper among my modest treasures. Tomorrow, I'd give it to the police. But tonight, I was grateful. Grateful that the truth was coming out, that my daughter and grandchildren were coming back to me, and that, even at 65, it was possible to start a new chapter. Monday morning dawned sunny, a fresh start. I woke before 6 a.m., heavy-hearted but determined. Today, everything would change. I dressed carefully, a dark blue suit, a little makeup, George's pearl earrings. I needed to look composed. At 8 a.m., the doorbell rang. Vernon, punctual, stood on the doorstep, wearing a tie for the occasion. Good morning, Martha. Are you ready? As ready as I can be, I replied, grabbing my bag, laptop, and notes. The drive to Chesapeake was silent. I watched the passing scenery. In just 2 days, I'd gone from a quiet widow to someone driving to rescue her family. Did you contact your friend in the police? I asked. Vernon nodded. Yes. Dexter Price is well known in certain circles. Owes money to several underground casinos and a local loan shark named Radcliffe. Tens of thousands of dollars. I gasped. How could he? They have children, a mortgage. Gambling addiction defies logic, Vernon replied grimly. We pulled up to Chesapeake City Hospital. Vernon parked. It's 9:30. Nurse's lunch break starts at noon. Yes, Evelyn eats in the cafeteria, first floor. Only 30 minutes, so we need to be concise. Okay, Vernon considered. First, you go alone. Find Evelyn. If she agrees, great. If not, or if she seems scared, I'll come over. An official appearance sometimes helps. I agreed. He looked formidable today. The wait was agonizing. At 11:45, I headed for the pediatric ward. Hospital corridors bustled. I tried to look confident, but my nerves were frayed. What if Evelyn refused? What if Dexter had completely turned her against me? The pediatric ward was bright, filled with children's laughter. Excuse me, Evelyn Price? I asked a young nurse. Yes, she's in the treatment room, should be free soon. Are you her mother? She looked at me curiously. You look like her. Yes, I said, a strange pride in my voice. I'll wait here. 10 minutes later, Evelyn emerged, leading a little boy. She saw me and froze, her face paling. Fear. She looked around quickly, then walked fast toward me. Mom, she whispered, what are you doing here? I stood, my knees trembling. We need to talk, Evie. It's important. She looked around nervously, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, a childhood gesture. I can't. Dexter. Dexter isn't here, I said firmly. And we're going to talk about him, about what he did. She bit her lip. I have lunch in 15 minutes. Meet me in the cafeteria, first floor, the far corner by the window. Okay, I nodded. And Evie, I have a friend with me, a former police officer. He wants to help. She flinched, but nodded. Okay, just be careful. Dexter sometimes shows up unannounced. Downstairs, Vernon was already at the table. She's coming, I said. In 15 minutes. She's scared. And afraid Dexter might show up. Vernon frowned. Then we need to be ready to act fast. Laptop? Documents. I patted my bag. Exactly 15 minutes later, Evelyn entered, in jeans and a sweater, looking tired and tense. She saw us, hesitated, then walked to our table. Hi, Mom, she said quietly, sitting beside me. She turned to Vernon. You must be the friend. Vernon Coulson, he extended his hand. Nice to meet you. Evelyn cautiously shook his hand. I only have 25 minutes. What's going on, Mom? I took a deep breath. Evelyn, I know the truth about Dexter. About his debts, about the ring he planted, about everything. Her eyes widened, she paled further. What are you talking about? I have proof, I interrupted, opening my laptop. I set up a camera in the guest room. It recorded Dexter putting the ring in my jewelry box. Evelyn stared at the screen, unable to look away, her hands clenched into white fists. See? I said, playing the clip. He comes in at night, picks the lock, puts the ring inside. Then another clip. He's talking on the phone. Judging by the tone, it's with a creditor. Vernon thinks it's gambling debts. Radcliffe, Evelyn whispered, eyes glued to the screen. His name is Radcliffe. He lends money at exorbitant interest rates. And if he doesn't pay him back on time? She buried her face in her hands. I put my hand on her shoulder, feeling her tremble. Eve, sweetheart, why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. How? She asked bitterly, tears glistening. By giving him your savings? Selling the house? That wouldn't solve anything. Dexter would just lose that money too. He can't stop. What about your note? I pulled it out. You wrote he threatened to take the children away. Is that true? She nodded, wiping tears. He says if I leave or seek help, he'll prove I'm a bad mother, that I work too much, that he'll fight for full custody and won't let me see them. Those are empty threats, Vernon interjected. The court takes many factors into account, including financial stability. Your husband, from what I understand, has serious debts and a gambling addiction. No judge would give children to a father with such problems. Evelyn looked at him, hope dawning in her eyes. Are you sure? Absolutely. My friends in the Chesapeake police confirmed he's known in certain circles. Debt, gambling, possibly even embezzlement at work. He's not fit to raise children. Evelyn began to cry again, but now it was relief. I was so afraid, she whispered. So scared of losing Liam and Penny. They're all I have. You have me, I said quietly, squeezing her hand. And I'll never let Dexter take your children away from you. Never. We sat in silence. Evelyn collected herself, then straightened up, looking at me with new determination. What should I do, Mom? Where should I go? I don't have money for a lawyer or a new place. Don't worry about that, I said. I have savings, and my house is big enough for all of you. The most important thing now is to get the kids and get away from Dexter. But how? He'll be home from work at 6. The kids are at school until 3. Vernon stroked his mustache. Here's the plan. You finish work at 4. Excellent. At 3, Martha and I will pick up the children from school. Then we'll go to your house and gather the essentials. At 4, we'll meet you here, and we'll all go to Martha's house together. What if Dexter comes back early? Evelyn asked anxiously. Unlikely, Vernon said. But even if he does, we have proof of his dealings. And I'm a former police officer. He'll think twice before causing trouble. Evelyn looked uncertain, but nodded. All right, I agree. But we need to act quickly. Dexter tracks my movements. If I don't go home after work, he might suspect. Leave your phone here in the locker, Vernon suggested. Tell a trusted colleague you forgot to charge it. Borrow another for emergencies. That's fine, Evelyn nodded. Sarah will help. Great. A warm glow of hope spread through me. Then it's settled. We'll pick up the kids at 3, get your things, and meet here at 4. Evelyn squeezed my hand. Mom, I feel so guilty. What happened yesterday? I should have stood up for you. I should have told the kids. I'm such a coward. No, sweetie, I stroked her cheek. You're not a coward. You're a mother who fears for her children. I understand that. And I don't hold it against you. Evelyn clung to my hand, closing her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. I don't deserve a mother like you. You do, I said firmly. And you deserve even more. Now go to work. I'll meet you at 4. She nodded, stood, hugged me tightly, then left, wiping her eyes. She's strong, Vernon remarked. She'll be fine. Of course she will, I nodded. She's my daughter. The next few hours were tense anticipation. At 2:30, we drove to Chesapeake Elementary. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang. I spotted Liam and Penny walking hand in hand. My heart ached with tenderness and pain. How would they react after yesterday? I got out and waved. Liam saw me first, stopping, holding his sister back. Surprise, embarrassment, uncertainty flashed across his face. Grandma. Penny broke free, running to me, hugging my legs. Grandma, you're back. I bent down, hugging her, tears welling. Of course, I'm back, sweetheart. I promised I'd prove my innocence. Remember? Liam approached slowly. Dad said you weren't coming back, he said quietly. He said you. I know what he said, I replied gently. But it's not true, Liam. And I have proof. Do you want to see it? He nodded, not looking me in the eyes. Then get in the car, I said. I'll explain everything on the way. Where are we going? Does Dad know? Penny asked. We're going to your house to get your things, I said honestly. And then to mine. You'll be staying with me for a while. And no, Dad doesn't know yet. But Mom agrees. We just spoke to her. Liam frowned, confused, but obediently got in. On the way, I showed them excerpts from the recording, only the part where Dexter planted the ring. They were too young for his debts. See? I said. Dad put the ring in my box and then accused me of stealing it. But why? Penny asked, puzzled. Dad said stealing is wrong. Why did he do it himself? Sometimes adults do the wrong thing, I replied cautiously. Especially when they have problems. What kind of problems? Liam asked, seemingly understanding more than he let on. Adult problems, I replied evasively. The important thing is that I've never taken anything that didn't belong to me. And I'll never lie to you. I promise. We pulled up to Evelyn's house. A neat cottage. Hard to believe such secrets were hidden here. Do you have a key? Vernon asked. I do, Liam confirmed, taking it from his backpack. We entered. Everything looked normal. Okay, kids, I said firmly. We need to gather your things. Essentials only. 1 suitcase each. They ran to their rooms. I followed, helping them. Vernon went to Evelyn's bedroom to pack her things. Half an hour later, we had 3 suitcases. I added a few family photos, some documents from Evelyn's desk, her laptop. All done, Vernon said, loading the suitcases into the car. Now we have to get to the hospital by 4. We were just about to leave when a familiar black pickup truck pulled into the driveway. My heart sank. Dexter. He was back early. It's Dad, Penny exclaimed. Vernon made a split-second decision. Kids, get in the car quick. Martha, you too. I'll talk to him. No, I said firmly. I have to be here. This is my family. Vernon saw the look in my eyes and nodded. All right, but you kids get in the car. Liam and Penny, frightened, obeyed. Vernon and I stepped out onto the porch just as Dexter climbed out of his truck. He saw us, froze, then his face contorted with rage. What the hell are you doing here? He barked. I told you yesterday, get out of my house. This is my daughter's house, I replied calmly, though I trembled inside. And her children's, and I came to pick them up. Dexter laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Take them? Where? They're my family. Mine. He took another step, but Vernon stepped forward. Mr. Price, he said in a formal tone. I'm Vernon Coulson, a former police officer. We have evidence of your slander against Mrs. Adlington, as well as information about your debts to Radcliffe and several underground casinos. I suggest you step aside and let us leave peacefully. Dexter paled at the mention of Radcliffe's name. Who the hell are you, and how do you know? That's not important, Vernon interrupted. What's important is that your wife and children are leaving temporarily until you sort out your problems. Evelyn. Dexter looked around. Where is she? What did you tell her? The truth, I replied. About how you planted the ring in my jewelry box. About how you threatened to take the children away if she left you. About your debts. Nonsense, he spat, but his voice trembled. You have no proof. I do, I said, taking my laptop from my bag and opening it. The camera in the guest room, the recording of you breaking into my jewelry box and planting the ring, the recording of your conversation with the creditor. It's all there, Dexter. He stared at the screen, his face showing the dawning realization of defeat. Anger gave way to fear, then despair. You don't understand, he said, his tone changed. These people, they're not kidding. If I don't get the money back, that's your problem, Mr. Price, Vernon said. But blackmailing your mother-in-law and threatening your wife is not the answer. Now we're leaving, and I advise you not to try to stop us. Dexter stood with slumped shoulders, looking at us, then at the car where the children sat. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him, a broken man who had lost everything because of his own weakness. "Can I at least say goodbye to the kids?" he asked quietly. I glanced at Vernon. He nodded slightly. "No drama," I warned. "And in our presence." Dexter nodded and slowly walked toward the car. Liam rolled down the window, looking at his father wearily. "Hi, champ," Dexter said, trying to smile. "Hi, princess," he added, noticing Penny. "Dad, we're going to Grandma's," Penny said. "Are you coming too?" Dexter shook his head, swallowing hard. "No, sweetheart. Daddy has to take care of some things. But I'll come see you soon, okay?" "You promise?" she asked hopefully. "I promise," he said, then looked at the silent Liam. "Take care of your sister." "Okay, champ." Liam nodded slowly, still not speaking. It was clear how hard it was for him to realize his father had lied, betrayed his grandmother, and now they were leaving him. "We have to go," I said, approaching the car. "Evelyn is waiting for us at the hospital." Dexter stepped back, allowing me to get in. Vernon started the engine. "Don't try to follow us or threaten us," he warned Dexter through the rolled-down window. "My friend in the police has a copy of all the evidence. One phone call, and you'll have problems worse than your dad's." Dexter nodded silently, his hands in his pockets. As we drove away, I saw him in the rearview mirror, standing on the driveway, a lonely figure against the house he might soon lose. The children were silent on the way to the hospital. Penny pressed herself against me. Liam stared out the window. "Everything will be okay," I said quietly, hugging my granddaughter. "I promise." We arrived at 4 p.m. sharp. Evelyn was already waiting, shifting nervously. When she saw the car, she ran over and got into the back seat, hugging the children. "My little ones," she whispered, kissing them. "Are you okay?" "Yes, Mom," Liam replied. We packed our things and we saw Dad. Evelyn froze. "Dad? Was he home?" "He came back just as we were leaving," I explained. "But everything's fine." We showed him the recording and he didn't interfere. Evelyn breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank God. I was so scared." "It's all over," Vernon said, pulling out of the parking lot. "Now let's go home to Martha's. We'll discuss what to do next there." The drive to my house took about 40 minutes. Evelyn held the children tightly. My old house on Oak Street greeted us with the setting sun gilding the windows. How strange. Just yesterday, I had returned here alone, crushed. Today, I brought my family home. "Welcome," I said, opening the door. "Make yourselves comfortable." The children entered, looking around curiously. "Liam, your room is upstairs, first door on the right. It was your mother's room. And Penny, you'll sleep in the room next door. It's my sewing room now, but we'll fix it up quickly." "And me?" Evelyn asked. "The guest room is downstairs," I replied. "There's a comfortable sofa bed. If you want, we can look for an apartment closer to your work, but for now." She shook her head. "We'll stay here for now if you don't mind. The children need stability, and so do I." Vernon carried in the last suitcases. "I think I'll go," he said. "You need time to be together, to settle in." "Stay for dinner," I offered. "It's the least I can do." He hesitated, but Evelyn backed me up. "Please, Mr. Coulson. We couldn't have done it without you." "All right," he agreed. "But just dinner." The evening passed in a strange but cozy atmosphere. Evelyn and I prepared dinner while the children explored the house, finding old toys and books from their mother's childhood. Vernon sat in the living room, taking phone calls, contacting friends in the police to ensure Dexter wasn't taking any action. Over a simple but hearty dinner, roast, salad, apple pie, we talked about the future. Liam and Penny would continue at their school. Evelyn would drive them. Finding a good lawyer for the divorce and custody. How I could help with a down payment if Evelyn bought her own place. "Mom, I can't accept this money," Evelyn objected when the children had gone to play. "You can and you will," I said firmly. "This isn't a gift. It's an investment in your future, in my grandchildren's future." Vernon nodded. "Your mother is right, Evelyn. Besides, I think you should go to court, not only for a divorce, but also for compensation. If Dexter really lost the family money, you are entitled to it." "I'm afraid there's nothing to compensate," she said with a bitter smile. All our savings are long gone. The house is mortgaged and remortgaged. Even my salary, part of it went to pay off debts. Nevertheless, Vernon said, you need a good lawyer. I have a friend who specializes in cases like this. I can put you in touch with him. Thank you, Evelyn said sincerely. For everything. I don't know how we'll manage. She was interrupted by the doorbell. We all froze. Who could be coming at this hour? I'll get it, Vernon said. He went into the hallway. Muffled voices, then footsteps. It's Officer Dixon, Vernon said, entering with a young policeman. He has news about Dexter. Officer Dixon, a blond man in his 30s, nodded. Mrs. Price, I need to inform you that your husband, Dexter Price, was arrested an hour ago for assaulting a creditor named Howard Radcliffe. Mr. Radcliffe is in the hospital with a concussion and a broken jaw. Your husband is at the station, charged with aggravated assault. Evelyn turned pale. My God, she whispered. He's completely lost his mind. We also found an unregistered firearm in his pickup truck, Officer Dixon continued. So, there will be more charges. Given the severity of the crime and his previous convictions for fighting, he will most likely receive a significant sentence. Previous convictions? I asked, looking at Evelyn. Did you know? She shook her head. No, he never. God, how could I have been so blind? Officer Dixon continued. Mr. Price asked us to tell you that he won't be seeking custody of the children and agrees to a divorce on your terms. He also asked us to apologize to you, Mrs. Adlington, he turned to me, for the false accusations. I nodded, not knowing what to say. It was a strange feeling, receiving an apology through a police officer from the man who had publicly humiliated me just yesterday. What happens next? Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. Court, Officer Dixon replied. You will be called as a witness. The children will probably be questioned too, but in a sensitive manner with a psychologist present. Mr. Price is facing 5 to 10 years, considering all the circumstances. After the officer left, we sat in silence for a long time. Evelyn cried quietly, as if mourning not only her broken marriage, but all the years she had spent in fear and deception. I have to tell the children, she finally said. They have a right to know. Not today, I said gently. Give them time to settle in here. Tomorrow or the day after will be enough time for difficult conversations. Vernon nodded. Your mother is right. Right now, the children need peace and a sense of security. Everything else can wait. Evelyn wiped away her tears and nodded. You're right. First, we need to get settled. Start a new life. And we'll manage, I said, taking her hand. Together. Vernon left around 10 p.m., promising to stop by tomorrow to help with paperwork and contact a lawyer. Evelyn and I put the children to bed, reading them a story. Penny insisted on the ritual. Finally, we sat together in the living room. Mom, Evelyn said quietly, looking at me with pain and remorse. I'll never be able to make up for what I did, the way I betrayed you yesterday. You've already made up for it, I replied, sitting next to her on the sofa. By finding the strength to leave, by protecting the children, by choosing the truth, even though it was scary. I should have done it sooner, she shook her head. Before he accused you, before he started threatening you, before he lost all our savings. Don't beat yourself up, I said, hugging her shoulders. What's done is done. What matters is that we're together now, and no matter what happens, it will always be that way. Evelyn clung to me like she did when she was a child, afraid of a thunderstorm. Promise? I promise. I kissed the top of her head. Now go to sleep. Tomorrow is the start of a new life. When everyone had gone to bed, I sat in the living room for a long time, looking at the family photos on the walls. George, young and smiling, with little Evelyn in his arms. Evelyn in her prom dress. Me with newborn Liam. Penny on her first bike. My family. No matter what, they were with me again. And even though there were many difficulties ahead, court, divorce, rebuilding my grandchildren's trust, we would get through it, together. In the bedroom, getting ready for bed, I glanced one last time at the jewelry box on the dresser. The small wooden box that had unwittingly caused all these events. Inside was still the ring Dexter had slipped into it, a silent witness to his desperation and meanness. Tomorrow, I would give it to the police as evidence. But today I was just grateful that the truth had prevailed, that my daughter and grandchildren were back with me, for the fact that, even at 65, it is possible to start a new chapter in life. With these thoughts, I went to bed, feeling at peace for the first time in a long, long time. Penny was snoring quietly behind the wall. And in the room opposite, Liam was probably reading under the covers with a flashlight, his favorite pastime. Downstairs, Evelyn was probably still crying, mourning the past, but already looking to the future with hope. My family, my fortress. Whatever happens next, we've already survived the worst, and we've become stronger. Tell me, have you ever faced a betrayal this deep, or had to fight for your family in a way you never imagined? Let me know in the comments below.